and a renomination now of Judy Gutherts to sit on the board of the Port Authority of Guam.
Oh, I like her.
You know what? Always have. Always have. You know, I've hesitated to contact her. I mean, she's Jewish, and I just worry that, that she might be very, very sensitive about what's going on in Israel. And so I figured I'd kind of wait that out a little bit. It's been some time now. And certainly this gives us a reason to give her a call and find out, what her intentions are as she moves through it. Former Senator Roy Respicio and the general manager of the Port Authority of Guam, Roy Respicio, joins me now on the line. Good morning, Roy. How you doing?
Hi, good morning, Ray. It's been a while.
I know it has. Well, I try not to bother you. I think you're doing a good job over at the Port Authority.
You can call me anytime. I was feeling, I wonder why Ray's not calling me, but I must be doing something right.
Well, if you want the honest to God answer, it's I might be calling again soon. There might be I might revive a technical project that we were working on before COVID.
I heard.
Yes.
I heard,
You've already heard. Okay.
Yes, but yeah, that's always on the front burner.
Yeah.
Because we want to have access to the point down in Cabras Island, but
down Cabras Island and points south of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, this whole idea of this the renomination. The governor did renominate Senator Gutherts because she's an existing board member, and she renominated her to continue her service on the Port Authority board. Mm-hmm. What I'm asking the senators to do is a reconsideration. She missed it by one vote, and all they need to do is when they go back into session, someone like our oversight chair, Senator Amanda Shelton, and I know she's willing to do this. She's always willing to do this. She would make a motion to reconsider, and the action, and they just come back and re-vote. And hopefully, there's one more senator of the 8 that didn't vote for her that would reconsider and vote for her. And when you talk about what Senator Gutherts must be going through in her mind, and the fact that she's a Jew and what's going on with Israel and Palestine, I had long conversations with her, and that's exactly how she feels. She feels targeted for no apparent reason, for something she didn't do, something she didn't deserve. She's a very active board member, and every time we have board meetings, we have it on Zoom, and we have our board meetings during her class. She's a very busy woman, but she teaches public administration, and she says, "Rory, say hello to my class." We have our board meetings during my class because they ask a lot of questions, and so it's very participatory. And you talk about transparency, and so when the vote came down to on her, I was very surprised. It was unexplainable, and when
hold on, was it? I mean, there are people over at the legislature that have sat in the same chair that you sat at, are sitting in the Port Authority now. Do you think that there might still be lingering bad blood between herself and I'm talking about the former Port Authority General Manager Joanne Brown?
Yeah, and I'm hoping
you make a statement, or the statement was made in the press release that came out. Says the general manager, that's you, raised concerns that those voting against former Senator Gutherts seem influenced by another sitting senator's agenda. Would that be an agenda that is being proposed by former General Manager Joanne Brown?
And that's what it is. It's her and it's Senator Talatadegui, and that's what it is, and that's what it's been for the last 5 years. And I've appealed to Senator Brown to ask her to help me extricate ourselves out of what I found ourselves to be in 5 years ago. We walked in January 8th in 2019 with a net negative $104,000. There's a lot of things that we had to grow out of, and there was no succession planning. There was no crane acquisition planning. There was no yard equipment replacement plan. There was no master plan update. We did all of these things despite any help that she can give. She wanted to demolish the administration building. We fought her on that idea that that's not where the priority should be. It should be on the wharves. It should be on the crane replacement. It should be where the priorities were misplaced over time. The priority should always be on the employees, their welfare, their work environment. It just was all misplaced. And I didn't want to look back. I wanted to look forward. But every time I tried to move forward and she brought those things up, I had to explain why we're in the situation we're in. And fast forward 5 years later, we have a positive cash position of $26.4 million, We had clean audits every single year since I've been general manager. Every single year that she's been general manager, she had high risk audit T, and it tells of a very different story from when she was there, from when I was to today. And my appeal to the legislature and to all 15 senators is that we got here because you have Governor Liu, you have Lieutenant Governor Josh, you have the board that brought us to this place. I'm responsible for the day-to-day operations, but strategic development and the strategic planning, those directives come from the governor, the lieutenant governor, the board. They come from the Port Users Group. They come from the community. They come from the stakeholders. They come from our oversight chair, the legislature. They come from anyone who would care to give us some good guidance and good advice. And that good governance comes from having a strong board. And then you hear, oh, we don't want Frank Santos as chairman because he's a rubber stamper. So I asked the senators, what is he rubber stamping? Clean audits? I'm offended. I'm offended for myself. I'm offended for him, because if you talk about check and balance, those check and balances are inherent to the things that we're doing every single day. Every single day, and our clean audits show those things. And our bond rating, we went from a negative to positive. And one of the reasons why our bond holders gave us a positive outlook raised because of good governance. And that was my letter to the senators yesterday. The 8 senators who voted no, is maybe they thought that they were just going to side with Joanne Brown and say, okay, let's go after Judy Guthers because she understood the whole dynamic of the Port 7 cases. She understood that going into litigation, spending all this money on a lawyer, $30,000 a month, didn't make sense. The port employees, those 7 of them were wrongfully terminated. Not only they went on merit, they also, Joanne Brown lost on the 60-day rule, and that was what the administrative law judge concluded. Yet an employee who won twice in the Supreme Court was reinstated to a job 7 years later at a salary that he got 7 years prior to being terminated. I mean, when Joanne Brown says that I don't follow decisions and orders, she doesn't follow what the civil service told her to do, what the court told her to do, what the Supreme Court told her to do, sometimes what the Supreme Court told her to do twice. In Mayor Sisrico's case, the Supreme Court told her to do something twice. And it's just what she says.
Well, it's a never-ending saga. I'm surprised that the Port 7 would even be a factor in some of the decision making, especially where it concerns the future of the Port Authority. I think that's interesting. Are you unable to have a quorum now?
I'm not. I don't have a quorum, and that's why I wrote the letter. I said there's 2 things there. Our inability to have a quorum, and the senators knew that. They all knew that. Speaker Teresa Lahi knew that. Every single senator knew that. And it's reckless. Well, they knew that because when this board passed the budget, I've asked for a survivability clause that basically says the time they pass the budget, if for some reason we don't have a quorum, I get an additional 3% spending authority for the next fiscal year and every subsequent fiscal year thereafter. I mean, if you think about what the board is really supposed to do, is besides hire and fire a general manager, adopt an annual budget, but also authorize the general manager to go to the Public Utilities Commission on procurement matters that are over $1 million. And so the board also needs the authority, if in the event that they don't have a legally, legislatively constituted quorum, that I can go to the PUC for those kinds of matters. I mean, we have those things in place, but what concerns me is I need every functioning governing body should have a board. And if the issue, so I wrote the letter because I think that the legislature should operate under transparency and no more under this darkness where they just either raise their hand or not raise their hand. At the very least, let's discuss why they voted against Senator Guthers. Is it because she's too close to me? And you've heard the silly allegation that Senator Taylor Tidigui made that Guthers and I are so close, and never in my wildest dream would I ever imagine sitting in a room where Judy Guthers had to deny that she's my chakma. And so the level
I completely thought that was out of place and quite ridiculous. You both shared office space in the past, and I recall that you guys used to go to luncheons and deads together. Any time that you could ride together to the same place you were going, you did.
But this idea of closeness, what do they want? Do they want an adversarial relationship? Do they want me fighting with my board? Do they think that the closeness is going to breed contempt and corruption when everything that I've been doing over the last 5 years speaks different of that? To go from a net negative 104,000 to a positive cash position of 26.4 million just within the last 5 years, and to have the employees go from discharging a Matson vessel from 36 hours down to 20 to 22 hours, and in most cases, and to have a port users group rally behind the port and advocate for the port, and the reason why I'm not giving up on Senator Guthers, I'm not giving up on Mr. Frank Santos, not giving up on Louis Baza. So I want those senators to know that when they deny the governor's nominee, they're not denying just those three individuals. They're denying almost 400 employees at the port. They're denying an entire island community, because they're saying that those three individuals are not good enough for them. But if they're saying that they're not good enough for them, then explain why they're not good enough for them. What is their issue with Frank Santos? What is their issue with Louis Baza? They just can't say, "Oh, I don't like Louis Baza because he carried out the board's directive and he brought those port employees back." But they don't know that. They do, because we tell them about it. I respond to them in writing because they won't let me talk in the legislature. Louis Baza called all 7 port employees, wrongfully terminated employees, in, and they put back about almost $1.5 million on the table in terms of their settlement, and that's after the administrative law judge of the Civil Service Commission said that Joanne Brown failed to terminate them within 60 days. The writing was on the wall. That's after 5 of them all of them went through merit, but with the exception of the last 2, but all those cases were tied together.
Rory, one question that it was last time this came up, last conversation I had, I think it was with cousin Troy from over at Candid. I got a buzz in my WhatsApp, and it suggested that if Judy Guthers were to be put on the board, she would begin asking questions about pay raises that took place before this particular administration. Some would say illegal pay raises. Can you address that query?
That matter was already addressed by the board. If you recall, public auditor released an audit on Senator Brown's 9 illegal pay raises. While he didn't speak to it directly, they kind of pivoted to what transpired over at GURA, and so it asked the former Attorney General for a legal opinion. Again, they didn't speak directly to Senator Brown's illegal pay raises. They responded to me, and they said that there's a parallel between what you're asking for versus what happened at GURA. You have your own legal counsel. She's very capable. Have her make that interpretation. And that's what our legal counsel did, our counsel at the time. There's a legal opinion on file, and then that legal opinion was converted into a board resolution asking me to work with the Attorney General to try to recover whatever can be recovered from those illegal pay raises that were given her. Her raises were retroactively applied. In some instances, I think in 1 or 2 of them, she signed that herself. It's beyond reproach, and the matter is sitting before the then Attorney General's office. There's a board resolution. Senator Fisher, he FOIA'd me on all my hearings since 2019. This was just a couple of weeks ago. So I responded. I said, here's all my hirings since 2019. But if you recall, there was a senator who took me to the Civil Service Commission questioning my hiring. I think that was in 2021. And so what I did I gave all, and then the Civil Service came back and said that all my hiring was pursuant to statutory. There was no statutory prohibitions against any of my hiring. Everything was consistent with what the statute provides. But I said, Senator Fisher, I recognize that you're trying to gain the public trust by looking into all of these matters, which I encourage. I thank you. But by the way, here's some ongoing matters that have yet to be resolved. I gave him the board resolution. I gave him the public auditor's audit. I gave him everything, the entire file on Senator Brown and her 9 illegal pay raises. And I didn't ask him to do anything about it. I put it in front of him, and I said, "Here, you have someone that
you want to investigate something, investigate this." One last thing before I let you run here. I've got to push the program forward. A question from one of our listeners on Facebook. How about releasing the documents for which Klitz submitted a FOIA? Any more discussion about Judge Klitz during port board meetings? Well, not if they can't have them, but is there work that needs to be done to satisfy former Senator Klitz's curiosity?
I've given Judge Klitz everything that he's asked me for, everything. In fact, former Judge, I love it because I have a former Judge Canto and a former Judge Klitz corresponding. I've given Judge Klitz everything, and everything I'm giving that's legal in nature. Former Judge Canto is my legal counsel. He signs off. Everything that Senator Klitz is asking, whether it's a FOIA or not, I comply. I give him. He may not agree entirely with the position I'm taking, but I'm giving him everything. If it's a personal matter, I'm telling him it's a personal matter. But that's another thing I told him. Bob, you want to look at something that's ongoing? There's Joanne Brown's. Just look at it. I said, Bob, just look at it. And if you don't think that her 9 pay raises were illegal, then come out and say they were illegal. Just come out and say it. But nobody will come out and say it.
Going to be an interesting Tall Tales show this afternoon, I think. It's 7:30.
But Ray, before you let me go, I just want to ask those senators to just let those 7 wrongfully terminated employees go. And if they can let them go, leave the port out of it. The port is too critical. We're going on a national level, on the Department of Defense, Indo-PACOM, Joint Region Marianas, MARAD, FEMA, everywhere we can go to try to get them to replace the 3 aging gantry cranes. We don't ever want to find ourselves in a situation that, for example, our sister agencies are in today. We just need the support of the legislature. We need a board. The governor has named 3 very capable people, and we just ask them to keep the port out of it and confirm those nominees and look at our record, look at my record, and if they have, I didn't tell I agree. Senator, I'm a target for you, I understand, but keep the port out of it. Be better than that. Go after me, but keep the port out of it.
Senator
Former. What I'm asking. The employees don't deserve what those senators are doing to those employees, and I ask that those nominees be confirmed.
A former senator and general manager of the Port, Roy Respicio. Appreciate your time here this morning.
Thank you, Ray.
Talk again soon, I'm sure.